Hello, and welcome to our webinar, Library Love for Library Reads. I'm Susan Maguire, Senior Editor, Collection Management and Library Outreach here at Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download them by copying the URLs on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a section for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we'll pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable captions on your screen, please look for and click the live transcript icon on the toolbar mentioned earlier. From there, you can select show or hide subtitles from the menu that appears. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of the captions at any time by selecting subtitle settings. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates the standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. Today, we have the pleasure of hearing from Rachel Tran, Associate Marketing Manager at Penguin Random House Library Marketing, Golda Rademacher, Library Sales and Marketing Director at WW Norton Company, Randy Chan, Channel Marketing Director at HTP Books, Mahi Patel, Marketing Intern at HTP Books, and Rebecca Vnuk, Executive Director at LibraryReads. First, we'll hear from Rachel Tran. Rachel is an Associate Marketing Manager at Penguin Random House. She studied broadcast journalism at the University of Florida, where she fed a lifelong love of storytelling and swampy things that go bump in the night. She loves Gothic fiction, thrillers, and books about ghosts of all kinds. She can be found rereading The Secret History and telling anyone who will listen that Holden Caulfield did nothing wrong. Thanks for being here, Rachel.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Rachel with Penguin Random House Library Marketing, and I'm excited to share some of our biggest upcoming reads. Next slide. First, I'd like to give a quick shout out to some October virtual events. Our morning book buzz and our library lunch and learn are both next week. You can use the tiny URLs on the screen here to register, or you can visit our website at penguinrandomhouselibrary.com. Next slide. Also, on our website, we invite you to check out our latest book club brochure featuring reading guides from our biggest book club books. Next slide. You can also find our most recent excerpt samplers featured here, as well as our most recent book club brochure on the resources tab on our website. Again, that's penguinrandomhouselibrary.com. Next slide, please. And onto the books. So first up, we have Golden Seal by Maria Hummel. This historical fiction novel is A Gentleman in Moscow Meets My Brilliant Friend, featuring two estranged friends who reunite to confront each other and the devastating betrayal that tore them apart. Set against the vivid landscapes of a 1990s Los Angeles and unfolding with the evanescence of a dream or a memory, Golden Seal peels away the layers of an intimate female friendship to reveal a stirring and haunting story about the search for connection and the lingering echoes of lost love. This is author Maria Hummel's return to literary fiction. Her novel Still Lives was a Reese Book Club pick and has been optioned for television. Golden Seal has great book club potential and is great for fans of Hernan Diaz and Sigrid Nunez. Next slide. So next up we have Say You'll Be Mine by Naina Kumar. A teacher with big dreams joins forces with a no-nonsense engineer to survive an ex's wedding and escape matchmaking pressure from their Indian families. Their plan? Faking an engagement, of course. This is for readers of charming romantic comedies and feel-good women's fiction like Emily Henry's Book Lovers and Linda Holmes's Evie Drake Starts Over. And for fans of fake dating romances like Elena Armas's The Spanish Love Deception and Ali Hazelwood's The Love Hypothesis. Say You'll Be Mine is a delightful trip back to the heyday of swoony romantic comedies from the 90s, but with a deep and poignant look at the effects of culture and family in our most intimate relationships. This is a romance that Colleen Hoover calls the new When Harry Met Sally, a warm, smart, sexy, and absolutely charming debut. Next slide, please. And next up, we have the highly anticipated new novel by New York Times bestselling author of Such a Fun Age, Kiley Reid. Come and Get It is a fresh and provocative story about a residential assistant and her messy entanglement with a professor and 3 unruly students. It's 2017 at the University of Arkansas. Millie Cousins, a senior resident assistant, wants to graduate, get a job, and buy a house. So when Agatha Paul, a visiting professor and writer, offers Millie an easy yet unusual opportunity, she jumps at the chance. But Millie's starry-eyed hustle becomes jeopardized by odd new friends, vengeful dorm pranks, and illicit intrigue. This is a fresh and intimate portrait of desire, consumption, and reckless abandon. Come and Get It is a tension-filled story about money, indiscretion, and bad behavior, the highly anticipated follow-up from an award-winning author. Next slide. Next up, we have Mrs. Quinn's Rise to Fame by Olivia Ford. A huge-hearted, redemptive, coming-of-old-age tale, a love story, and an ode to good food. Nothing could be more out of character, but after 59 years of marriage, as her husband Bernard's health declines and her friends' lives become focused on their grandchildren, which Jenny never had, Jenny decides she wants a little something for herself. So she secretly applies to be a contestant for the primetime TV show Britain Bakes. Whisked into an unfamiliar world of cameras and timed challenges, Jenny delights in a newfound independence. But that independence and the stress of the competition starts to unearth memories buried decades ago. Chocolate tea cakes remind her of a furtive errand involving a wedding ring. Sugar donuts call up a stranger's kind act, and a simple cottage loaf brings back the moment her life changed forever. This is perfect for fans of Lessons in Chemistry, The Great British Bake Off, and works by J. Ryan Straddle, Matt Haig, and Claire Pooley. Next slide. Next up, we have Hollywood Hustle, a gripping debut thriller by John Lindstrom, 4-time Emmy-nominated actor of General Hospital, Bosch, and True Detective fame. This propulsive and tense thriller will transport readers to the seedier side of LA, depicted in bold prose by a Hollywood insider. Winston Green, a has-been film star, wakes one morning to find his 6-year-old granddaughter at his bedside, traumatized, unattended, and gripping onto a thumb drive. She comes bearing video proof that her mother, Wynn's troubled adult daughter, has been kidnapped by a murderous gang demanding all his movie money for her safe return. But what they don't know is his movie money is long gone. Set in the dark underbelly of the LA film industry, Hollywood Hustle is the perfect read for fans of Alex Finlay, Jeffrey Deaver, and Michael Connelly. Next slide. Next up, we have a nonfiction pick, Out of Shape, Worthless Loser, a memoir of figure skating, effing up, out by Gracie Gold. In this explosive tell-all memoir, an Olympic medalist offers an unprecedented look inside the pressure-packed world of figure skating and reveals her battle to survive mental illness, eating disorders, and unforgiving perfectionism. In Out of Shape, Worthless Loser, Gracie shares the less palatable parts of her life, revealing exclusive and harrowing details about her struggles, the battles with her family, her coaches, the powers that be at her federation, and the voice in her head that she calls Out of Shape, Worthless Loser. Gracie's memoir is not only a forceful reckoning from a world-class athlete, but also an intimate account of surviving as a young woman in a society that rewards appearances more than anything and demands perfection at all costs. This is for readers of memoirs that tackle issues such as eating disorders, depression, anxiety, imposter syndrome, perfectionism, and challenging families, like I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. Next slide. Next up, we have Redwood Court by Delana R.A. Dameron, a breathtaking debut about one unforgettable Southern Black family seen through the eyes of its youngest daughter as she comes of age in the 1990s. With visceral clarity and powerful prose, Dameron reveals the devastation of being made to feel invisible and the transformative power of being seen. Redwood Court is a celebration of extraordinary, ordinary people striving to achieve their own American dreams. This is the fiction debut by a lauded poet. Dameron's debut poetry collection, How God Ends Us, was selected by Elizabeth Alexander for the South Carolina Poetry Book Prize. So you can expect plenty of poetic lyricism and eye for detail that tells an immersive, emotionally affecting story. This is for readers of novels about the coming of age and inner lives of Black women in America, like The Mothers by Britt Bennett, The Secret Lives of Church Ladies by Deisha Philyaw, and Memphis by Tara M. Stringfellow. Next slide, please. We are extremely excited for this one, the eagerly awaited follow-up to the Pulitzer Prize finalist, Tommy Orange. Wandering Stars traces the legacies of the Sand Creek Massacre of 1864 and the Carlisle Indian Industrial School through to the shattering aftermath of Orville Redfeather's shooting, which occurred in there. Extending his constellation of narratives into the past and future, Tommy Orange once again delivers a story that is by turns shattering and wondrous, a book piercing in its poetry, sorrow, and rage, a masterful follow-up to his already classic first novel, and a devastating indictment of America's war on its own people. Fans of Tommy Orange will want this ASAP, as well as fans of Colson Whitehead and Ta-Nehisi Coates. Next slide. Next up, another heavy hitter, James by Pulitzer Prize finalist Percival Everett. A brilliant, action-packed reimagining of the adventures of Huckleberry Finn, both harrowing and ferociously funny, told from the enslaved Jim's point of view, from one of the most decorated writers of our lifetime. While many narrative set pieces of the adventures of Huckleberry Finn remain in place, for example, floods and storms, stumbling across both unexpected death and unexpected treasure in the myriad stopping points along the river's banks, encountering the scam artists posing as the Duke and Dauphin, among others, Jim's agency, intelligence, and compassion are shown in a radically new light. This book is great for fans of literary retellings and biting social satire, especially with contemporary hot-button themes. Next slide, please. And last, but certainly not least, we have How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kristen Perrin. A dual narrative feel-good mystery in which a woman, Frances, spends a lifetime trying to prevent her murder as predicted by a fortune teller at a country fair when she was just 17. When she is in fact murdered nearly 60 years later, her great-niece Annie must solve the crime to avenge her great-aunt's death, and in doing so, uncovers the dark heart of the quaint English village of Castle Knoll, where she might just find herself in the path of the killer. This entertaining and devious crime novel is perfect for fans of Richard Osman's Thursday Murder Club series and Nita Prose's The Maid, as well as viewers of Only Murders in the Building and Knives Out. Next slide, please. That's it for me. Thanks, everyone. You can visit the tiny URL on the screen to request e-galleys, and hope you'll have a great day.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Our next presenter will be Golda Rademacher. Golda is the Library Sales and Marketing Director at W.W. Norton. You can sign up for her monthly newsletter for art giveaways and find her on Twitter and Instagram at W.W. Norton Library. Take it away, Golda.
Thank you, Susan, and hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. So, like Susan said, I'm Golda. I'm the Library Sales and Marketing Director for Norton, and today I want to tell you about some of our key titles that we think would make great picks for popular reading and for library reads consideration. But first, here are some must-haves for the fall, including Michael Lewis's new book, Going Infinite, which was published today. He was on 60 Minutes on Sunday, and you'll see and hear more from him in the media this week. And you'll want to check your systems to see if you have orders in for the rest of these titles, because we expect strong publicity for all of them. The Waters is the new novel by Bonnie Jo Campbell, author of Once Upon a River. Set in small-town western Michigan, The Waters follows 11-year-old Dorothy, who spends her days searching for truths in the lush landscape and in her math books, waiting for her wayward mother and longing for a father, unaware that family secrets and violent men will flood through the swamp and upend her idyllic childhood. We think this would be a good pick for book clubs because there are several different themes in the book. There's a bit of women versus men, Christians versus pagans, and wild women in the swamp, all mixed up in this novel. Wild and Distant Seas is a debut novel that follows 4 generations of women, starting with Evangeline, whose encounter with a sailor called Ishmael leads to choices that ripple through generations and across continents. Moving, beautifully written, and elegantly conceived, Wild and Distant Seas takes Moby Dick as its starting point, but Tara Carr Roberts brings 4 remarkable women to life in a spellbinding epic all her own. This is for your fans of historical fiction with a little bit of a magical element, and fans of books that reimagine classic stories. Andrew Pham's memoir, Catfish and Mandala, was a New York Times notable book, winner of the Whiting Writers Award, and winner of the Kuriyama Prize. This January, we are publishing his debut novel, Twilight Territory, which is a sweeping novel of love, war, and resistance in post-World War II Japanese-occupied Vietnam. This is a time period that isn't covered as much in fiction about Vietnam, and it was inspired by the experiences of the author's grandmother and her community. Twilight Territory is a war story and a love story that offers a fascinating perspective on Vietnam's struggles to break free of its French colonial past. Next, I have Hero, a new standalone thriller from Thomas Perry, being published by Mysterious Press. Security agent Justine Poole finds herself in the media spotlight after she helps prevent a robbery in Beverly Hills, killing 2 of the 5 armed robbers in the process. Being in the spotlight is not a good place to be, though, because now the crime kingpin behind the attempted burglary is sending someone after her. Justine finds herself up against both a hardened killer and a fickle media landscape that can just as soon turn on her as celebrate her, in this high-stakes thriller from the author of The Old Man. Nonfiction by Julie Meyerson is a paperback original novel from Tin House. Claire Fuller's endorsement describes it so well that I'm going to use her words. She said, "Searing and tragic and cleverly layered, this thought-provoking novel about mothers and daughters, guilt and responsibility, fiction and truth, took me to the dark interior of family relationships and leaves the reader heartbroken." And then one of the top titles coming from Akashic is the long-awaited return of Jennifer Bell with her new novel, Swana in Love. Bell is the best-selling author of Going Down and High Maintenance. This is her first novel in 10 years. The protagonist is 14-year-old Swana, desperately looking for comfort and love from adult figures, not always in appropriate places. She falls for a man at a bowling alley and sets out to seduce him in order to get him to help her. Marcy Domansky, author of Hurricane Girl, said, "Oh, how I loved the whip-smart Swana Swain. I loved the way she effortlessly lied to people. I love how much she wanted things good and bad." With Swana in Love, Jennifer Bell has given us the other side of Nabokov's Lolita, the misunderstood teenage temptress who desperately wants an ice cream sandwich and a comfortable bed to sleep in. Next up is Transient and Strange from NPR reporter Nell Greenfield Boyce. In her career as a science reporter, Nell Greenfield Boyce has reported from inside a space shuttle, the bottom of a coal mine, and the control room of a particle collider. She's presented news on the color of dinosaur eggs, ice worms that live on mountaintop glaciers, and signs of life on Venus. In her debut book, she delivers an original collection of powerful, emotionally raw, and unforgettable personal essays that probe the places where science touches our lives most intimately. A beautiful blend of explanatory science, original reporting, and personal experience, Transient and Strange captures the ache of ordinary life, offering resonant insights into both the world around us and the worlds within us. One of the top titles coming in January from The Experiment is Dear Oliver by Susan Berry. She first wrote to Oliver Sacks when he was doing a column for The New Yorker, and he ended up writing about her story of regaining 3D vision for his column. The two continued corresponding and became real friends. These letters reveal a personal side to Oliver Sacks and tackle a lot of different topics related to science as well as personal life, like aging and illness. So when we announced King Nix, we heard from several excited fans of Kirsten Backus's first novel, Lives of the Monster Dogs. Her new book, King Nix, is an atmospheric, compelling novel that reimagines the life of Anna Filing Fort, whose husband, Charles Fort, was the most famous anomalist of the early 20th century. A feminist tale with the mood and mystery of a classic Gothic novel, King Nix reintroduces readers to an incredibly imaginative storyteller 25 years after her acclaimed debut. Leaving by Roxana Robinson is a story of former college sweethearts, Sarah and Warren, who meet again later in life when both of them have various family entanglements and Warren is still married. Warren is more keen, while Sarah is hesitant to disrupt her family. Warren wants to leave his marriage, but can't predict how his wife and daughter will react. As their affair intensifies, Sarah and Warren must confront the moral responsibilities of their love for their families and each other. This is an engrossing exploration of the vows we make to one another, the relationships between parents and their children, and what we owe to others and ourselves. For over a decade, Lee Morgan has treated dogs on site at the Iditarod. In 4,000 Paws, he tells the story of the heroic canine athletes who carry handlers between frozen outposts, risking injury, illness, and fatigue, using only their muscle and an innate drive to race. From the Huskies of Iditarod's past to the dauntless dogs of today, Morgan shows how these competitors surmount the dangers of the Arctic and gives us an intimate look inside the animal mind. Bad Animals is a shrewd, captivating novel about a disgraced small-town librarian, a famous novelist, and how their unlikely alliance provokes penetrating questions of empathy, infidelity, and appropriation. Maeve Cosgrove loves her job at her quiet Maine public library more than anything. But when a teenager accuses Maeve of spying on her in the bathroom, she winds up laid off and humiliated. While Maeve attempts to clear her name, her favorite author, Harrison Riddles, finally responds to her invitation to speak at the library. Riddles announces a plan to write a novel about another young library patron, a Sudanese refugee, and enlists Maeve's help in convincing him to participate. A scheme to get her job back draws Maeve further into Riddle's universe, where shocking questions about sex, morality, and the purpose of literature threaten to upend her orderly life. Help Wanted is a sharp and witty tale of a group of workers at a big box store, and they're just so crazy it might work scheme for a promotion. This is for your fans of the TV shows The Office or Superstore, and for fans of workplace novels like Then We Came to the End or Convenience Store Woman. I think this novel fits right into the current zeitgeist. It is a darkly comic workplace caper that explores the aches and uses of solidarity and a deeply humane portrait of people trying, against increasingly long odds, to make a living. The Woman in the Sable Coat is coming from Tin House in March. This is historical fiction set during World War II. 22-year-old Nina Woodrow joins the British Royal Air Force and gets involved with a married officer. She risks losing everything for Guy Nicholson, her comfortable home, her childhood friends, and the love of her father. Meanwhile, in the sleepy village where Nina grew up, the officer's wife, Kate, struggles to cope with her new role as the wronged wife. She finds an unlikely confidant in Nina's father, Henry, but as they grow closer, Kate finds that she's embroiled in something much murkier and more menacing than a straightforward friendship. And here's a peek at a few more winter titles. Graphic novel fans will be very excited to hear that My Favorite Thing is Monsters Book 2 is finally coming out in April. And David Small has a new collection of graphic novel stories called Werewolf at Dusk coming in March. And then I do print ARC giveaways in the library newsletter, which you can sign up for through this library marketing link. You can also find our catalogs and many digital ARCs on Edelweiss and NetGalley. And so thank you all for listening today. Thank you so much for the work that you do in your communities, and I hope you have a great rest of the week.
Thank you so much, Golda. We will now hear from Randy Chan and Mahi Patel. Randy is the Director of Channel Marketing at HTP Books, Harlequin Trade Publishing. He has worked in publishing for over 25 years. Prior to this, he was Director of Marketing at Penguin Random House, Canada. And his very first job was at a public library in his hometown of Toronto, Canada. He is proud to be a mentor to the younger publishing community through the BIPOC of Publishing in Canada program. Mahi is currently a marketing intern at HTP Books, Harlequin Trade Publishing. While she is new to publishing, she has worked in marketing and communications for the School of Advanced Studies in the Arts and Humanities at Western University, from where she graduated last year with a degree in English literature. When she is not helping with marketing campaigns at work, she is an excessively frequent patron of her local library in London, Canada. Thank you both for being here. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So my name is Randy. I'm the Director of Channel Marketing, as was said. Before we begin, I just wanted to acknowledge all the challenges that librarians are facing. I know it's been hard, and I know you have a lot on your shoulders. But I gave a presentation on the state of librarian book bans to my company. We have a small team of volunteers now helping to launch a few initiatives that we'll announce shortly. But in the meantime, we as publishers will keep doing what is our fundamental responsibility to you and your patrons, which is just to publish voices that need to be heard. So the theme for today is Library Reads, and on the next slide, we've shown off all of our Library Reads picks in 2023 so far. Just a great list of books. Clearly, librarians love their thrillers, their romances, witches, and big book club reads. And out of this bunch, I just wanted to call out Hush Harbor here, because it's a debut novel, and debut novels are hard to break out through all the noise of the dozens of books that get published every week. So Hush Harbor went on sale last month, and it's a book about racial reckoning, and it actually answers the question, what would a war against white supremacy look like? And I call this out because we had the author, Anis Vance, at ALA Annual in June. Some of you may have seen him in action. He did main stage presentations, gala teas, panels, you name it. And at each event, he had librarians in tears with his powerful message. Barbara Hoffert from Library Journal sent a note after ALA to say how impressed she was with him and how much she was going to get behind this book now that she saw him in action. And true enough, we have starred reviews, we have an invitation to the Fall Dave Dialogue. So I do think Hush Harbor is definitely a book to watch. And if you haven't ordered it for your branch, please do. So now my colleague Mahi Patel and myself will present books that we hope will land on future Library Reads Picks lists. On the next slide, I just wanted to start off with Two Dead Wives by Adele Parks. Adele might be the biggest best-selling author that some of you may never have heard of, and that's okay. In the UK, Adele Parks is a household name. She's published 22 novels, best-selling novels, in 22 years, selling 4.5 million copies in England alone. Her books are translated into 31 different languages, making her a true global writing superstar. She was asked to judge the Costa Book Awards, as well as the British Book Awards. And Queen Elizabeth bestowed Adele Parks the MBE for her services to literature. And an MBE stands for Member of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire. So we are talking cream of the crop. Adele's books explore the dark sides of family, marriage, and love. The new book, Two Dead Wives, is about a missing woman case that has gripped all of England because both of the women's two husbands are suspects. So we follow this case and those who are affected by the missing woman. And then we are introduced to Stacy, a woman who lives a quiet life in a small village. She's a recluse. She doesn't watch the news, and she knows nothing about the missing woman. And yet, she is very much linked to the case. How, why, what, all of these things unravel as you keep reading. It's so, so good. Easily my favorite thriller writer, thriller of the upcoming season. Over to Mahi on the next slide.
Hi, everyone. This is Mahi. I'll be introducing Perfect Little Lives next, which is about a young woman, Simone, whose mother was murdered 10 years ago when Simone was a teenager. Her father was convicted for the murder, and overnight, Simone went from living in a very wealthy neighborhood to a crime-ridden borough. 10 years passed like this, and she now has a run-in with a true crime documentarian who's looking into this case of her mother's murder. And Simone also runs into her former neighbor / best friend, Hunter. All of this brings back her past to haunt her, and she soon sees that her mother's murder was way more complicated than she initially thought. As a Gen Z reader, I personally found that the commentary on race, class, and privilege gave weight and nuance to what is a sizzling thriller, and we believe that this would appeal to an audience of Gen Z readers and younger millennials. The authors of this book are twins. They both graduated from Rider University, and after a successful career in fashion, are now completely dedicated to their book publishing careers. Their debut novel, Someone Had to Do It, was published last December, and it was a LibraryReads pick, and we're hoping that Perfect Little Lives follows the same path. On to Randy.
Thank you. So John Mars is an amazing writer. He wrote The One, which was about a world where you could find your soulmate based on a DNA swab that would match you with your genetic life partner. It was so good. It was made into a Netflix TV series. I know Rebecca Vnuk is a fan. And earlier this year, John also had a novel called The Marriage Act, which imagined a society where marriage is the law and those who remain single are punished. And everyone in the society is monitored to make sure they will love, honor, and obey. So in short, I think John is criminally underrated. Most of his books have a dash of the show Black Mirror to them, where something is just off. The new novel, The Vacation, is more realist, but equally chilling. Think Lucy Foley and Taylor Adams. It's set in Venice Beach, where 8 strangers find themselves at a rundown backpackers hostel. Why they are all there is a mystery at first, but soon we realize each of them is running away from something. They all have secrets, and they're all willing to kill in order to keep them. This is an amazing page-turning read. Back to Mahi for the next slide.
So speaking of page-turning reads, if you loved Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis, then Principles of Emotion is for you 100%. This book is about Dr. Meg Brightwood, a smart, quirky, socially awkward mathematical genius, and she has just solved the impossible theorem. It is this huge mathematical enigma in her field that has never been cracked before, and this is a huge deal for her because she grew up a math prodigy in a field plagued by sexism and plagiarism. So when she is asked to present her findings at a public celebration of her work, she is riddled by anxiety and panic attacks. Enter Isaac Well. He's the one love of Meg's life, the one guy she briefly dated 15 years ago. He's a high school dropout who's in trouble with the law, but he's somehow everything Meg needs to pick herself up and feel confident in herself. And together, they prove that a brilliant mind needs a strong heart. I loved this book. It centers women in science and mathematics, so it has a STEMinist angle, and it's perfect for book clubs with its themes of imposter syndrome, loving yourself for who you are, and dysfunctional family dynamics. The author, Sarah Reed, is very active in the writing community. She co-founded Mom's Writers Club, which is a YouTube and Twitter community for writers. And her previous novel, Joanna Porter Is Not Sorry, came out earlier this year. That one is set in the glamorous art world, and it had similar themes of imposter syndrome and female empowerment, which are ideas that Sarah writes about so beautifully. We are fans, and I'm sure readers will be too.
Now on to I Only Read Murder by Ian and Will Ferguson. So I'm based in Toronto, Canada, and in the Canadian landscape, Will Ferguson is a very big deal. He won the Stephen Leacock Award, which is given out to humor writing. He's won the Arthur Ellis Award for crime writing, and then his novel 419 won the Scotiabank Giller Prize, which is Canada's largest literary award. It's akin to the National Book Award in prestige. And now Will Ferguson is teaming up with his brother, also an award-winning author, on a cozy mystery book that is best described as Schitt's Creek meets Only Murders in the Building. So I Only Read Murder is about Miranda Abbott, an actress who once played a crime-solving church pastor on a TV show. But she's hit hard times. She's even rejected now for reality shows. Until one day, a postcard arrives, summoning Miranda to Happy Rock Little Theater in a small town in the Pacific Northwest. And there, she performs in front of packed houses once again, until one of the actors is murdered live on stage. There are suspects for sure, like the town doctor, the high school drama teacher, and the town's mechanic. But clearly, there's only one way to get to the bottom of this. Miranda must channel her skills from her Pastor Fran TV days to solve the murder. This is so charming. This book has already hit the bestseller lists in Canada, where it was released earlier this year. You will love it. Back to Mahi.
And finally, for all those fans of The Housemaid by Frida McFadden or Severance by Ling Ma comes a wildly entertaining debut novel. The Cleaner is centered around a nameless main character who is a night cleaner cleaning up behind the daytime employees of a company. They don't know her, but she knows everything about everyone. She serves as a guardian angel to them, secretly furthering office romances, inspiring business ideas, and so much more, all without their knowledge. One night, she discovers a secret that will put everyone's jobs at risk, and she decides to take matters into her own hands, and it will make you wonder who has the real power in the office. The author, Brandy Wells, is friends with Roxane Gay, Annie Hartnett, and other established writers in the literary community. Earlier in their writing career, though, the author used to clean apartments themselves, and in The Cleaner, they wanted to provide a spotlight on the underappreciated workers of the janitorial industry. And they do this by weaving in themes of class and social hierarchy, which you will definitely see in the ways in which the office workers and the main character, the cleaner, interact. We loved this book cover to cover, and we hope you do as well. Off to Randy.
So that's it from HTP Books today. All of the titles here are on NetGalley and Edelweiss, but if you'd like to request a physical galley, just email either Pamela Osti or myself. We're the library marketers of HTP. Thanks again, and we'll see you very soon.
Thank you so much, Randy and Mahi. Our final panelist today will be Rebecca Vnuk. Rebecca is the Executive Director of LibraryReads, a nonprofit organization that works with public library staff and U.S. publishers to promote adult reading. She has an MLIS from Dominican University and worked as a reader's advisory librarian for a decade. And prior to joining LibraryReads, she was the editor for collection management and library outreach at Booklist magazine. Rebecca is the author of 3 reference books on the topic of women's fiction, as well as a best-selling book on weeding library collections. Bring us home, Rebecca.
Thanks, Susan, and thank you for having me. We always love doing these Library Love for LibraryReads webinars. I think it's really an excellent chance for people to hear from all of our publishing friends, to get the scoop on what you can vote for. And I am just here to wrap it up with a short amount of time telling everyone about LibraryReads and going through some of the quick details on how you can get involved if you're not already part of our crew. And guess what? If you work in a public library in the US at any level, level, any department, you are part of our crew, whether you knew it or not. We just have to get you all set up in Edelweiss and NetGalley. So LibraryReads is a registered 501c6 not-for-profit organization, and our mission is to connect adults with books that library staff across the country are recommending. We also do free training and events for library staff centered on reader's advisory for adult patrons. On the next slide, you will see a little bit from our mission statement. So we do advocate for adult books of all types, fiction and nonfiction. So please vote for your favorites every month. As I mentioned before, anyone who works in a public library in the US is eligible to vote. If you are not sure if you are eligible, if you're, let's say, a retired librarian, or you're a library trustee, or maybe you volunteer at your library, please reach out to me. I'm very easy to get a hold of. It's just Rebecca at libraryreads.org, and it'll appear on the last slide as well. Reach out to me and let me know. We have a program called Library Reads Ambassadors, and that is where we have people who might be just outside of the public library realm, or also our really big power users are considered our ambassadors. So we want to make sure that you are registered properly in Edelweiss and NetGalley to vote. So reach out and let me know. I can help you with that if you need. On the next slide, I'll tell you a little bit about why you should be involved with Library Reads. So for Reader's Advisory, it's 10 books plus every month that you can pretend that you've read. One of the things people hear me say all the time is that our patrons think that we read every book in the library, right? So let's keep that mystery alive and let them think that we really do. And the great thing about our list, you'll see an example in a moment. We have 10 books every month, plus 2 board bonus picks, plus our Hall of Fame authors, which varies every month. But that's where we kind of take the folks who appear a lot on the list and give them their own page. So we're talking every month you have a minimum of 12, sometimes it goes up to 20, succinct little reviews that you can read. They've been personally recommended by library staff who have read that book, wanted to recommend it to folks. It's filling your brain full of books. So we like to say that we are good for both Reader's Advisory and collection development. On the Reader's Advisory side, it's the 10 books plus that you can pretend you've read every month. It's great to identify book group possibilities. Many of our blurbs will point out when something is good for book group choices. And we have an archive on our website of the last 10 years worth of book choices. So we've been around since 2013. I don't remember my eras anymore. So 2013, 10 years worth of recommended titles. So we're over 1,400 at this point, and you can sort our archive. It's a sortable spreadsheet, and one of the columns that we allow you to sort by is whether we've marked it as a book group possibility or not. So we get a lot of traction on that. We also allow you to use any of our content on your library's website or social media, print out the list, post it wherever you would post the New York Times bestseller list, put it there at the circ desk. It's a great little 8.5 by 11, fits in those acrylic holders really nicely, works well. Library Reads is also good for collection development. You can check your orders against our list to make sure you're getting these books that people are getting hyped up about. It helps you become familiar with new books and authors that are getting attention. And it is one of those really great things. We have Midwest Tape puts it in their catalog every month, and Baker and Taylor also creates an automatic order cart. And we're going to be working on Ingram to do the same thing. So it's kind of like an easy way to just be like, great, what's the Library Reads list this week? Make sure you've bought that, or this month, sorry. Next slide. So again, to continue this idea of like filling your brain full of books, if you use our list regularly, you really will become very quickly sure of who publishes which kinds of titles. So you've met some of our publisher friends today. They are talking about all the different imprints that they publish, and becoming familiar with the Library Reads list is really going to help you remember, oh, okay, that's right. That imprint is good for space operas. That's a great science fiction imprint. Oh yes, that's their mystery imprint. It really kind of helps you get more familiar to really broaden your base knowledge of books and just increasing that awareness of new books. Library Reads is also great for figuring out what books are trending. If I see another book with a woman on the cover who's got her back to us and she's looking at the airplanes in the distance, I don't know, I feel like I've time traveled right back to World War II. So many of those books make the list. So much witchy romance. Now we're seeing the sports romance. So following our list throughout the year, you can really see what's trending and what's coming up. It's kind of fun. And the other thing that I'm going to point out on the next slide is looking at our list, you can see what we're really proud about it is all of the books are annotated on the main list. And all of those annotations are written by someone just like you who has read that book, wants to tell people about it, and has given us this lovely, succinct, usually 2 to 3 lines of content that let you know why this book is important. So what we really like, on the next slide, you can see, here's a recent one. That is a basic look at one of our annotations. You get a brief plot description, no spoilers. We usually try and fit in the type of story and some of those appeal factors for readers' advisory. And then our great friends at Novelist supply us with a read-alike suggestion for every single book. So right there, this is what I mean when I say it's 10 plus books every month that you don't have to read. You can just read our little blurb and be like, yes, now I can talk to somebody about this book. I understand what it's about. I understand the appeal to the reader, and I even have something I can compare it to. So that is one of the things that we like to sort of show off about our list. I should say that the list comes out every month on the 15th. It is published on our website along with a link to that PDF that you can print out, use it in your library, use it for display or handout. It also appears on our social media. We are currently posting everything on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it for right now. We just set up a Blue Sky account. So if you want to follow us there, I have a feeling we'll eventually move most of our Twitter content over to Blue Sky instead. But there's all kinds of ways to get our list every month on the 15th. So the next slide, you have heard today from our fantastic publisher friends about their upcoming books and how to get those. And here are some other ways to find out about eligible books to be reading and voting for. If you visit publisher booths at ALA, PLA, ARSL, your state shows, everybody, when the publishers appear, they bring print copies with them, but do remember that voting for Library Reads all happens online. So you need to be signed up for NetGalley or Edelweiss or both. And it's okay if you mistakenly vote twice. We'll knock that out and get it all figured out. You do that, those things are free. If you're already signed up for those, as long as you're showing that you work in a public library in the US, you have access to the Library Reads vote buttons. And the best thing that you can do is not only make sure that it says you work in a public library, but fill out your profile to show that you are voting for Library Reads. Because if you are not automatically whitelisted for something and you need to be approved, the publishers do look at that to see, why do you want to check out this book? And having Library Reads in your profile is a good thing to have there. As you hopefully know, many publishers have staff, like our friends today, who are devoted to library outreach. And these are great people to contact when there's a specific book that you want or you'd like to get on their email lists. We have links on our website. I'm going to show you in a second. We have a directory as well. But really quick, I wanted to mention the Early Word monthly galley chat that currently takes place on Twitter. That is a great place to learn about upcoming titles, what your fellow library staff are reading right now. And our publisher friends pop in there as well to make suggestions and get feedback from you folks. So take a look at that. That happens the first Thursday of every month from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern. So check that out. On the next slide, you'll see our little printable directory that we have there from our publisher partners. This includes their websites, key contacts for libraries, and their newsletter links. If you check that out on our website, it's libraryreads.org/resources. There is a link right to that printout right there. On the next slide, I will just tell you a little bit about voting for books using Edelweiss and NetGalley, because that could be a whole webinar on its own, and we don't have time for that. But they are very easy to use. If you don't already know how to do so, you can head to our website and click on the Participate tab. We have full information there for library staff. We have our frequently asked questions there. We also have some newly updated videos on our YouTube channel that give you a walkthrough of both services. So there's information on there, how to sign up for it, how to find the books, tips for writing annotations, etc. On the next slide, I think the next two slides are just a quick peek. Edelweiss also has full training options on their website as well. The next one, you'll see what NetGalley's help looks like. So they are very generous to us. They share this with us. They do not charge us to let you guys vote. So we're very, very grateful to both NetGalley and Edelweiss for making it so easy for us. So head to their website to check all that out. And on the next slide, so we've been attending as many conferences this year as we can. We're heading out to state shows. We just came back last week from ARSL, where we met some awesome folks. And I realized there are always these top 3 questions that people unfamiliar with us always ask. So I like to go through them just real quick. First of all, do you have to sign up with LibraryReads in order to participate? No, you only have to sign up with Edelweiss or NetGalley in order to get those digital downloads and to place your votes. Does LibraryReads send out books? No, so you access those titles as ebooks via Edelweiss and NetGalley, and you access print copies by contacting our lovely library marketing partners like you've met today. If you see our resources page, again, you'll see that contact info for everyone there. And the big question, does it cost me or my library anything to participate? Never. All of the materials on our website are free for any user. There is no charge associated using Edelweiss or NetGalley. We are a not-for-profit organization and are supported by the generous partnerships we have with US publishers. As a matter of fact, we have money to give. We do have a program where we can help defray your costs if you're going to a conference where there is reader's advisory or collection development content, or if your library is looking to bring in a speaker or some kind of webinar session. As long as it's related to reader's advisory or collection development, we can help out with that. The application and information is on our website. And that is my time for today. Thank you for your time and attention, and always reach out. Let me know if you've got other questions, if you'd like to know more about how to participate, anything LibraryReads related, go ahead and hit me up at Rebecca@libraryreads.org. And thanks again, Booklist, for having us today.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, and a big thank you to all of today's panelists. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's video recording, title list, PowerPoint slides, and a certificate of completion. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones like the ones you see here. It's Banned Books Week. And now more than ever, it is important to spread awareness and take action against the rapid spread of book bans and challenges across the nation. Between January 1st and August 31st, 2023, ALA's Office for Intellectual Freedom, OIF, documented challenges to 1,915 unique titles, an increase of 20% from the same reporting period in 2022. Join the fight to help protect the freedom to read by supporting the Unite Against Book Bans campaign, and visit their website, uniteagainstbookbans.org, for resources, toolkits, merchandise to donate, and more. And remember that you can utilize Booklist to support your library's collection development choices with reviews backed by ALA. We have a special webinar subscription offer, and don't forget that your subscription dollars help ALA advocate on behalf of libraries assisting those facing an unprecedented number of book challenges. Email us at info@booklistonline.com for more information. Attention booksellers. Booklist Reader showcases books your customers can purchase from your store today. In addition to sharing from your website, you can now distribute print copies to your visitors. Scan the QR code on the screen or visit our website to order copies for your store today. We have a special announcement, introducing Booklist's Book Club, a year-long partnership with your favorite publishers. Each month, Booklist will showcase book club picks and supporting materials from a different publisher, offering a wide range of genres and age groups to fit the needs of any book discussion group. Mark your calendars for November, when we'll hear about book club picks from Macmillan Publishers. To find out more information, scan the QR code on this slide or visit our website. There it is. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, and one final thank you to our sponsors, Penguin Random House Library Marketing, W.W. Norton Company, and HTP Books, and to our partner, LibraryReads. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time.